Welcome to 18.1, the circulatory system, and here we're going to look at how the heart pumps through the body. We're going to look at the different types of blood vessels and their roles and outline the difference. This is an important one, the pulmonary and systemic circulation systems. Talk a little bit about cardiovascular disease and blood and its blood components. Here's a shot from that website that we talked a little bit about in previous chapters. This is from BioDigital, and this screenshot is showing you the heart, and it's showing you some of the major, these are veins that are coming back to the heart. Notice that they're in blue. Blood that has its oxygen being taken away by all of the cells is usually pictured in blue, and oxygen-rich blood from the lungs is always pictured in red, like this artery and this artery. So just keep in mind that blue normally signifies veins in any medical illustration, and red always symbolizes the arteries which are carrying oxygen. So keep in mind that the circulatory system can be compared to a system of interconnected one-way roads that range from superhighways to back alleys. The superhighways are those big arteries and veins, and the back alleys are capillaries. We're going to look at some of that now. So look at the functions of the circulatory system as they move materials around. Well, they move hormones around, they move oxygen from the lungs around, they move nutrients from the digested food around, and they also help get rid of cellular waste. So the circulatory system is a very, very important system in the human body. Make sure that you read all about that and outline it in section 18.1. Human beings are mammals, and mammals are vertebrates, and mammals have four-chamber hearts. So let's see if we can tell you those four chambers. So here's chamber number 1, the right atrium. Chamber number 2, just below it, is the right ventricle. Then chamber number 3 up here is the left atrium, and chamber number 4 is the left ventricle down here. So human beings, mammals, have four-chamber hearts. Not all animals have four-chamber hearts. For example, fish have just a two-chamber heart. The structures that carry the blood from the heart are referred to as blood vessels, and we've already mentioned them. Arteries are muscular blood vessels that carry blood away from the heart. Veins are blood vessels that carry blood toward the heart. And the smallest of all the blood vessels are called capillaries, and they are connected by very small arteries and veins. We'll see that in the next picture. If you take a look here, this is just a stylized picture of the heart, and coming off of the heart is the aorta, a large artery, but then that will branch off into a regular large artery, to a small artery, to an arteriole, and then finally down to a capillary. Capillaries can be so narrow that only one blood cell at a time can move through them. Those capillaries are then connected into tiny veins, into bigger veins, into the vena cava, and back into the heart. So notice that the functions down here at the bottom, distribution, resistance, exchange of materials, and then finally bringing it back to the heart. The circulatory system actually consists of two separate systems. There's pulmonary circulation and there's systemic circulation. You can watch this animation to take a look at both of those, but we're going to just describe them briefly here. The pulmonary circulation is the part of the system that carries blood between the heart and the lungs. So between the heart and the lungs, we'll see that in a second in an illustration of the heart. And the systemic circulation is what carries the blood between the heart and the rest of the body. So let's take a look at this diagram. This is just the pulmonary circulation. So here, blood is going out. Notice it's colored blue, so it's oxygen depleted blood is going out to the left lung and to the right lung. So it's going out to the lung to pick up oxygen. It then returns and comes back into the heart here. So this is the pulmonary. This is the right lung bringing blood back in, and the left lung bringing blood back in. Notice right here is where it comes in, and it's pumped here. So the pulmonary circulation system carries it between the heart and the lungs. This is an important diagram because we'll have this diagram, and it'll be on the quiz. This is the systemic circulation system. So take a look at what happens here. So the aorta, the reddish, is carrying comes up from here. This is oxygen-rich blood. It comes up, it splits, it goes down, it goes behind the heart, and this is the descending aorta, which delivers blood to your internal organs, but also down to your legs. Over here, we have the system, the head and arms, bringing oxygen-depleted blood back into this part of the heart from the superior vena cava. So for the quiz, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to examine this diagram. I'd like you to memorize the parts of the heart. Remember, this is just the systemic circulation. The blood up here is going to the head and arms, the blood down here, internal organs, and to the legs. Cardiovascular disease is one of the major killers of Americans, and that's partly because of our diet and partly because we're living so much longer. And what happens is fats and lipids cake on the inside of the veins and arteries. It's a very serious problem. You'll read about it more in the book. Let's take a look at blood now. Blood is a fluid connective tissue. It circulates through the body and it's pumped by the heart. Let's take a look at this diagram down here. These are red blood cells, these are white blood cells, and the other structures in here are platelets. Platelets help the body to clot when we get a cut. The fluid part of the blood is called plasma. So the red blood cells, the white blood cells, the platelets, the watery substance, all of that combines together. It is a watery golden yellow liquid that contains many of the dissolved substances and blood cells. Many of you have probably heard about blood type, and some of you may even know what your blood type is. Blood type is a genetic characteristic associated with the presence or absence of certain molecules that are called antigens, which are right on the surface of the red blood cells. The most commonly known blood types are A, B, O, and rhesus blood types. ABO is determined by two common antigens, often just referred to as antigens A and B. A person may have just one type, A, or B, or both, or no antigens. If you are no antigens, your blood is very useful in transference. Rhesus blood cells determined by one common, and you're either Rh positive or Rh negative. Blood type is really important for medical reasons because many people that need a blood transfusion must receive blood that is the same type. It has to be exactly the same. That's why we have so many blood collections and donor collections for blood. Always a good idea to read over the lesson summary. These are the most important topics that section was referring to. Read through this. Make sure that if you don't understand anything, you go back and reread it. And we will see you in section 18.2.